El Señor Sartori.
Hello, Jacob.
How are you, sir? Did you freeze on me? How you doing?
Hmm?
How are you
I'm good.
doing?
I'm I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Now I can.
Okay. They have weird issues sometimes. For some reason on Chad's, like on Chad's stream, my truck Bluetooth always makes his audio weird, but it works better. It works good for the Bible study with David. So I don't know. What are you up to?
Uh, so Chazi wrote Michal, which I figured I should read for you.
Ah,
Uh, um, so I finally filed my taxes, which I should have done a long time ago, but I did by the ultimate deadline, which was today. And I'm actually not feeling that well. I think I've, I got sick like 4 weeks ago now, and I've been coughing ever since. But like, it seems to be like I'm actually getting sick again, which isn't good because I took antibiotics.
hmm.
Um, Eh. Chazi wants to know why your back window is black. It's because he's in a truck and there's something behind him in the truck, correct?
Yeah, there's a camper shell on the back. It's
There's
closed
a
off.
camper shell, see? Because he's a working man. um yeah, silly Chazi. If you ever go to Israel, the cars are so tiny. Oh my god. Like it's like Euro cars. In Europe, cars are really tiny too because gas is so much more expensive than it is here.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's up with you?
Just driving home. Uh, I'm going to fly out tomorrow to go to the Connecticut event. So
Ooh, that's tomorrow. That's this weekend.
yeah, yeah, I'm going in. Yeah, I'm going in tomorrow night because, that's I'm staying with a friend. So uh,
Hmm.
have a little time before and after to get to see the people I know and whatnot. So
Cool.
yeah,
Is there an actual agenda, or are you guys just gonna hang around?
I guess it's just supposed to be estuary conversations the whole time with meal breaks. So
Yum. You've heard my take on estuary. It's a Protestant Bible study without the only thing that redeems a Protestant Bible study, which is the Bible.
yeah, but I mean, I can't have any conversation without referring to something in the Bible. Like, so
You're a good man. This is why I like you.
it's my map of meaning. I mean, I don't know. It's everything else compared to the Bible. So
Well, it's everyone's map of meaning. I mean, I was just listening to Clara's conversation with Karen.
mm,
I stick around and listen to the whole thing. Uh, towards the end, like, they actually have an interesting conversation um, because Clara was asking Karen why she thinks everything's falling apart. And one of the things that Karen mentioned was the Supreme Court decision taking prayer out of schools. And Karen rightly was saying, I don't know, what the chain of causation there is, if something else happened that caused that, but like a lot of things seemed to have gone off the rails around the same time. And it just reminded me that, the Rebbe spent so much time talking about that. thought it was wrong, how they thought people would understand it. The rebel supported a campaign to have a constitutional amendment to allow a moment of silence, because he was like, okay, you don't, I mean, like, yeah, you don't want to impose any particular religion, but at least start every school day with a moment of silence, and then the parents will tell their kids, what they should think of during that minute, um,
Yeah.
and Karen was mentioning, they would have the 10 Commandments up in the classrooms, right? And now there's is it in Missouri? One of the states, somebody is trying to get the schools to have.
Yeah. Is it Mississippi? Missouri? Mississippi? It's,
I thought it was Missouri, but like
Mississippi.
there's a superintendent here, superintendent of education, 10 Commandments. Oh, it might be Tennessee, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Yeah. Oklahoma superintendent orders schools to incorporate Bible 10 Commandments in teaching. Which, look, I mean, ultimately, I kind of, I've given up on the public school system. Thank God I don't have kids, but like, well, not thank God I don't have kids, but thank God that I don't have that one worry if that I would have if God had blessed me with kids. But yeah, it just seems to me like our education system is so broken. We've got to be able to fix it.
Yeah. I think, yeah. I mean, I think I've come to the, I think it's probably was more symptomatic than causal, the removal of prayer,
Mm-hmm.
because, there was so much stuff like, it's, it's really kind of insane how fast like Darwinism and like modernity swept through. Like it was like 10 years and then it was globally accepted as like the thing. And everybody, the people that were like, this isn't incompatible with the Bible or faith, like those arguments did not come around quickly. Most people were like, oh great, we don't need to pay attention to the Bible anymore. Which, I
When
mean,
was the Scopes monkey trial?
I don't know where the monkey trial was, but I mean, I'm just mean like it, like because whatever it was,
1925.
yeah. But I mean, just like in the 1850s when Origin of Species came out, it was like 10 years, and it was like this is the paradigm for all research, um,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody was like, this is the removal of God, and finally, it's a good thing. Like it kind of went along with all the Nietzsche and the Marx and all those things, like everybody was kind of uh, primed for it. So, but
David, what say you? If you're saying anything, I can't hear you.
What about now? Can you hear me now?
Now I can hear you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. The Scopes trial, part of the controversy related to it is actually related to eugenics. And people don't realize how early eugenics makes its way into some of the evolutionary conversations. It's not merely about whether or not God could use a system like natural selection to bring about changes in species. The bigger issue is whether or not people with Down syndrome should have human rights. That was very, very early on part of the conversation.
Look, and there's plenty of people nowadays who are happy that we're aborting children with Down syndrome.
Yeah. There's a my friend was following from this. I think it was a couple of years ago. Iceland had no children born with Down syndrome.
Yeah.
Every single one was killed.
And they were proud of it.
Yes. Yeah. They're going back to their Viking ancestry, where we examine the baby, throw it off the. Yeah.
And look, infanticide is very, very popular around the world. It still happens. People like, yeah, I mean, do I dare to call it a Judeo-Christian ethic? I think in Muslim countries, there's still places that do infanticide. And yeah, I don't know. I
know they stopped doing ultrasounds in some areas of England because the Muslims were just selectively aborting all the girls when they found out.
Could believe that, yeah. And then this designer baby thing. Like, my biggest question with the Malcolm and Simone Collins is, are you really seriously going to let like this very novel technology be on like used on your kids? Like, I was talking to somebody who works in biotech yesterday about the COVID vaccines, right? And like, if you know any math, it's very, very obvious that if we had only given the COVID vaccines to people over 60, the possibility of it having a negative quality adjusted life years would have been very, very small. But we gave it to kids as young as like 6 months, right? Like, that is insane. Like, long-term effects, maybe like it's a tiny carcinogen that like in 30 years causes you to get cancer. Like, how we ended up giving it to children is beyond me.
Well, but the thing is that the way that people were, like clamoring for it and stuff was so clearly motivated from like, it was like a superstitious like talisman. It didn't have anything to do with science on either side of those wanting it or those distributing it. Like, it was, which really I think shows just what a horrible evil they did just with the psychological warfare they waged just on how they covered everything about about it on the news, like that they
let me defend you for 1 second on what you were previously saying, because Trey was jumping in and saying that he requires evidence for Muslims aborting females only source. This is what you do, Trey. You Google the most basic sense of whatever Michael says, and we'll immediately find this.
David, you have to understand, it is against Trey's religion to know anything. I'm being perfectly serious. Like, he has a religious devotion to, like, he's bought the entire postmodernist lie that there's no such thing as facts and that you can't actually verify things to be true or false.
He used to be Mormon, right?
No, he a witness.
JW.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, Sandy. How you doing?
Tired.
You are in a car.
That's true.
Michael's in a truck.
How safe do I find this? Hi, Jacob.
Oh, is that? Oh, are you Sandy's son, Jacob?
You should know by now that Sandy's son Jacob is deaf. So
Let me see if I can remember. Hi, is that correct? Did I do that right? Hi.
do it again. There we go. There you
That's
go.
that's all I know. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'll spell his name for you very slowly.
Oh, that's my name.
Yeah.
Same name.
Yeah, I'm also Jacob. Yeah.
He's impressed. I don't think I'm getting the phone back.
Well, I remember this is B. I remember that, and I guess C. Yeah.
Some of them are intuitive.
Yeah. Like this was J.
Yeah.
I learned how to spell back. Yeah. I can read that. And Matthew knows the entire alphabet.
Nice.
I really want that to be clipped out of context. Just Matthew bragging about knowing the alphabet. I don't know why. I really like Matthew a lot, and he's like someone.
I
that
don't know why
want,
anybody would like Matthew.
I want to bully him mildly. Do you understand, Jacob? Like in
that's what
in a
men
playful
do.
way.
That's called being men. It's
Yes.
bullying each other mildly is part of the masculine whatchamacallit. And now Trey has to defend his honor. He has something else which, let's see what this says.
Don't do it.
But it's not that they don't love their girls. Gender equality, reproductive rights, and selective abortion in Britain. Yeah. So, like, you're proving his points. I'm glad you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So not that Michael was wrong that they're aborting girls, but the British are not preventing them from doing it. Thank you, Trey. That is.
Well, I think it was just something such that like they were offering free ultrasounds, and then they stopped doing that because there was a cause and effect. So,
well, apparently there's definitely a statistical anomaly, let's say, with South Asians and the number of females being born in that community.
It's interesting because on just like a base level, I will trust Michael misremembering a statistic more than I will trust Trey posting one that he's currently looking at.
And that is because you are a wise man, David. That is because you are a wise man.
Yeah. No, it didn't say Chinese. It's going to use the term Asian, and they don't mean Asian the way you mean Asian, Trey.
Yeah. Trey.
No, actually, there is overrepresentation in regular Asians with sexual selective abortions as well.
Look, it's a moral thing that goes down to what is your fundamental moral way of looking at stuff. You know, and look, it is a minority of cultures, certainly 2,000 years ago, that looked down on infanticide.
Yeah, without a doubt. Well, I have both of you here. Michael, are you ever going to post the video that you had private for a while?
Oh,
because I honestly thought it was some of your best work, and I thought it was very, very interesting on multiple levels, regardless of the corner drama related.
yeah, I mean, I would, I would I probably plan to cut out the middle part and redo the beginning and the end kind of a thing. So, but I just haven't had a lot of time to do it. So,
And I don't care that other people are watching this and not knowing what I'm talking about. Jacob, what was your opinion on this video?
Um,
Have you seen it?
yes, I have. I thought it was very interesting. I didn't have any real objections to it. I have to say, I like to think I have always been very respectful of Jesus, which I understand some people may disagree. And I am not sure that the Jewish part that Michael saw in it is. I mean, I see what he was saying. I'm not sure that's prominent or something I would necessarily have brought up myself.
Mhm.
But otherwise, yeah, I thought look, I have always said when Michael decides to speak, it's worthwhile to listen.
Let me tell you, I am not Jewish. I never claimed to be Jewish. I've experienced anti-Semitism just because of my, I don't know, Hebraiophilic perspective instead of like
So there
to
was a time way back when, especially when I was on Bridges of Meaning, when I took a stance of, okay, it's my job to expose the anti-Semites, and which I would regularly do, like
right.
get people to actually expose themselves as rabid anti-Semites. Um, there's definitely a segment, and it's gotten bigger. There definitely is a segment that you will find in this little corner, which is, if not overtly anti-Semitic, overt enough in their anti-Semitism. Now, I am not in any way imputing that that's anybody, whose names anybody would know, right?
Right.
But there definitely are people who've been influenced by anti-Semitism. There's the 4chan anti-Semitism that's like kind of latent in certain places. There,
Well, look, I like conspiracy theories. I find them very amusing. It does
well, I
not
mean,
take long.
Even Yon God was mentioning the whatchamacallit conspiracy theory, Abraham's royal gift conspiracy theory. I don't know if you've heard of that. There's this
No, that one,
idea that like the Jews have this plan to conquer the Middle East from like basically the entire Middle East, but like even the less crazy, Greater Israel. Yeah, Greater Israel is not a thing at all. It's just not. Yon God, like we can go back and forth, you saying it is a thing and me saying it's not a thing, but like if you're going to say it's a thing, prove it's a thing, and I guarantee you will fail because it's not a thing. But what if someone just hates Jews though? Is that anti-Semitism? Right. And honestly, I've gotten so tired of like when I did my Anna Kasparian video, I was like, if you want to, please miss me with your anti-Semit. They're also Semites thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you know what I mean. Please, you know what
look,
I mean.
Jew hatred. Call it Jew hatred. If you don't like the term anti-Semitism, call it Jew hatred. Right. And this is exactly what happens with conspiracy theories. Is, oh well, I'm going to be too nice to actually prove that my silly theory is real. Okay, whatever.
Yeah, well, conspiracy theories by and large are designed to keep people from doing actual things with their life. That's what they're most effective at. So,
Conspiracy theories are also designed to discredit ideas that are actually true. That's the other thing that they're
yeah,
used for.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Anyway, neither here nor there. I'm sorry to bother people. There is a video that Michael made on Corner Drama, and it was deeply convicting and beautiful on a spiritual level.
Michael does
Michael,
that.
I felt that you had this because I actually think that like the boom morality video has come back to me repeatedly. I think you named like a spirit and that it's a real deep concern, and I'm now seeing it in so many places that one of the greatest sins is the inability to repent, right? Pride.
Yeah.
And that some generations are like totally fine with admitting that they're wrong and some really are not.
Yeah. Oh man. So there's a liberal pastor in the CRC that Paul interacts with from time to time, and he's got a blog, and he wrote a whole thing on.
Oh,
that,
I think I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah. So he wrote a whole thing on that that sincerity, authenticity, profilicity thing, and yeah, it's pretty bad. The boomerality is very strong.
I made a video about that guy repenting of the judicial strategy, right? Because he's the one who's been defending like all of the what do you call the queer mafia in the CRC? The purple mafia, like the affirmers.
They're called that in the Catholic Church. Yeah, the
Um,
purple mafia.
Which one are they? Wait.
Do they call themselves the affirmers? I'm
No,
sure
they
they call
call
themselves. Well, they call themselves better together and all one body and whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
Abide.
yeah, they have all these nice names where they pretend they're not evil. And and like, I just pulled up like their judicial strategy, like right, like okay. Can you at least admit you tried this strategy and you failed?
Right.
And they
Right.
can't. And they can't. Like it's so simple. It's like, hello, like this you had this meeting, and I pulled up the Banner article and stuff. That actually it was either I think it was the Gospel Coalition which had an article on the CRC called the Curious Case of the CRC, and it had all of the receipts in it on it.
I used to. This kind of reminds me. I used to play chess. Like how I would teach someone how to play chess was very simple. We would do a round where I told them everything I was doing and why. I would say, I'm going to put this queen here because then I'm going to go for that. And because I already have that bishop there, it will be checkmate. It's going to take 3 moves for me to get there. And then the person would move accordingly, like according to that kind of stuff. And there's some kind of like layer of like a duel that is kind of beautiful, right? Like I'm just going to come to you. This is what my argument's going to be. This is what I'm doing. I am being straight up. I'm not being deceptive. Like, will you actually meet me up front and do this thing?
Yeah. Yeah, it was really bad though.
Sorry. Yes, Jacob is not a Zionist. He told me that when I was going to be allowed to use his channel, that if I mentioned the Trinity, I'd have to say Jacob does not endorse this, and that I couldn't, and in the same way, I couldn't endorse the state of Israel or Zionism.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
okay. So I just typed an answer to him, but let's actually deal with this. do you all think someone can be against the way modern Israel was established? You mean like I am? Like I have many, many videos on how
Yeah.
it was a mistake to establish the modern state of Israel and how it is currently behaving. You know, like I have many, many videos on how I don't like how the modern state of Israel is behaving without harboring any hatred or animosity for our Jewish brothers and sisters. Well, I'll say one thing about that. I am very critical of the state of Israel because I am Jewish. And so I have a reason to be so critical of the state of Israel. If you're being critical of the state of Israel and you have no reason, like you're just like, ask yourself, why am I being so critical of the state of Israel? And if it's
why am I
of
being so
Jews-
vocal about that on the 7th? Why?
Oh, well, yeah, that's and honestly, this Simchat Torah is going to be. I don't know what the Simchat Torah is going to be like, because, yeah, I don't even know what the Simchat Torah is going to be like.
Yeah, it's and like, let me say as well, like, I do believe that there's people who just like, because Jews are people, as it turns out, they are going to use terms like anti-Semitism to bypass legitimate criticism without a doubt, but that doesn't mean that there isn't anti-Semitism.
And I have to say, like, the reason why Satmar and a lot of Jewish groups who are opposed to the Zionist movement have stopped calling themselves, and I've stopped calling myself anti-Zionist and refer to ourselves as non-Zionist, is because anti-Zionism has in fact
been taken over by
the anti-Semites. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember like being active online. Like I was a fire-breathing and anti-Zionist 20 years ago. And I remember like being online and it was like, well, no, you can't, like the anti-Semitism from the anti-Zionists is pushing away the Jews. Oh, wow. That's a huge ice cream I wish I could be having.
That's great. It's Sandy. Sorry,
Maybe
I think I
now you got to have somewhere important to go.
It's freezing. Oh, and that's Guelph. That is a beautiful place. That's a great place to get ice cream. Jacob, if you are in Ontario, it's a good
place.
Yeah. Right on the water.
If you ever get a chance to go to the boathouse for ice cream. Here, hold this. Thank you.
I have actually been in Guelph.
You have been?
You're gonna sit back in my car.
I had Putan in Guelph.
Nice. Yeah, next time you're in Ontario, I have to bother you.
David, I'm going to be closer to you than I was the last time I went out of town.
I know. I did look on the map. I was like, do I want to do this? What are we talking about?
How many hours would you have to drive to get to Connecticut?
I think that's 15.
That's easy.
It's not a big deal. Is that a really big
your
deal?
wife can do half the driving. You can do the other half. It'll be perfect.
Yeah. Well, the one thing is that I'm getting so close to being my play going on stage that I can't give up any time right now.
Did I mark that down on my calendar?
I don't know. If you were my friend, you would.
Mind me.
See, this is a perfect example. It's fun to give Sandy a hard time because she is an absolute gem. I don't know what that is.
I have a sense of humor that loves to be teased. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh. So when is your play?
What flavors did you go for your ice cream?
Rocky Road and Moose Tracks.
Good choice. Moose Tracks, very good.
Yeah.
Yoav says, we will go on fighting. You can go on bitching. One day the roles may be reversed. Yeah.
I don't know if I ever told you about the most Eastern European thing a friend of mine said. He's Serbian, and he brought me to this restaurant. We're eating the food, and he's talking to the guys in his language. We sit down, we're eating, and I go, "Wait, is this a Serbian restaurant?" He says, "No, they are Croatian." He said, "I thought that," and he was like explaining to me that the food is like exactly the same. That they make it just the way that his countrymen did. I said, "I thought," like kind of looking over my shoulder, "I thought you guys didn't get along." And he just goes, "Yes, in fact, we had war and we will have war again. But for right now, they are my friends." That is the most Eastern European thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It was very like, I can't explain it. It was like, yeah, one day we'll kill each other, but until that day, I will buy their sandwiches.
We eat.
It's like when in World War I when they took a break for Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how much more Christian can you get than to take a break during
We
war?
will murder you tomorrow.
Yes, but today we celebrate Christ's birth. It's perfect.
I will say as well, because I have friends and even family members who I think may have attended protest on the 7th, and you don't have to be anti-Semitic to attend a protest this week or within the month, but whoever organized it definitely was.
I'm sorry. Like going, like if you're going, no. There is a level of like just being a horrible person. And I realize you may love these people, but like, okay, you know what? I still don't go to, like, I may disagree 100% with.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine the equivalent, right? Like, I can't even imagine what would be an equivalent thing to, like, at the very least, like, mourn the fact, like, let's say you hate the Israelis, right? At least mourn the fact that Hamas did something so stupid as to instigate the current conflict in the way that they did. This is what gets me. Like I am being turned.
I just mean though, Jacob, that when you talk to people, and I've had some of the conversations as well. When you talk to some people, they don't know what the river and what the sea is.
Oh yeah.
So they don't mean something genocidal because they don't know what they're saying. They don't know what the river and they don't know what the sea is, and they don't know what the implications of that.
Yeah, but like, then what are you doing?
It's
like, look, there's a level of ignorance and stupidity which makes me think, oh, you're the type of person who went to the lynchings with the KKK and just didn't realize, oh, there was going to be a black man dying.
Well, well, I mean, look, this is the thing, is that in some of the conversations, they just go, I thought we were hanging a rapist. That's how they motivated a ton of lynch mobs.
Yeah.
You'd have a couple of people being like, I'm sure this is legit, right? We all agree that this should be penalized. I'm sure that people know what they're doing.
Don says, Jacob, explain what the Jews should have done after the Holocaust instead of establishing Israel. In my opinion, the Jews should have done what a majority of Jews did do, which is move to the United States or Australia or anywhere else. Like, we carry on. Like, being murdered.
Perhaps open a nice bagel place, maybe the garment business, something like that.
Yes. That would have.
Like I flew when I flew. I had a layover in Las Vegas, so flying from San Antonio to Las Vegas, there's so much empty brown land, like it's crazy. Like, people can do their miraculous drip irrigation farms there. Like, come on.
Yep.
I mean, it's good that they're doing it there too, all that good stuff, but they can also do it a lot of places. Well, it's kind of funny just how much people fight over stuff when you realize how much empty space and unused resources there actually are in this world.
The Jewish law is 100% clear. If it would save a single Jewish life for every religious Jew in Israel to leave the country, that's what we should do. Now, the argument is whether or not that's what happens, right? If, that's the disagreement between Chezi and me. Chezi doesn't think that if he were to leave Israel, it would in any way reduce the amount of Jewish bloodshed. I disagree. I don't see why we're better off with the Jews living in the land of Israel than we would be if all 6 million of the Jews from Israel moved to New York and California and Nevada, like Uganda. There you go. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, I love the fact that my family moved. My uncle, he lived on the rivers of Babylon and lives in Jerusalem, and that is incredibly meaningful to him, and I love that for him. At the same time, it was I went with him to visit Har Herzl, which is the mountain of Herzl is a cemetery, very fittingly, and there are a lot of dead soldiers there. And yeah, it's a very difficult conversation to have with people who are atheists, who at the same time are Yoav, you're an atheist. So what am I supposed to do with you as an atheist who's telling me it's God protecting you in Chezi, I understand. It's Yoav and Gilad and the atheist Israelis, which is what are you even doing?
I think the best solution is to put the Samaritans in charge.
There you go. All 500 of them.
Yeah, I mean,
I've heard a story of at least one of them being good.
They've been there the whole time, right? I mean, so.
And also, they share something. Everyone agrees they're wrong. So that's helpful. Sandy still eating ice cream.
It's because I'm slow. I eat very slowly. So Israel is one component, but like you were saying, the marches in other places, that's something else. When you look at I hear completely divergent versions of why my country is now looking like an idiot because of India. What do we do?
Why don't these people have jobs? I've never been able to just go to a protest. I have to go to work every day. Like,
It's exactly the people who don't have jobs.
I know.
Or what's even worse, they have jobs which allow them to do it on the job. For example, teachers.
Right, right.
And they're see, this is the problem I have with the so-called Republicans, right? They don't realize that, like, our education system is funding professional teachers taking our high school students on field trips to protest politically, and like, what how is this acceptable?
Yeah. One of my favorite early Peterson things. Do you remember how he got protesters not to show up to one of his speeches? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I think it might be in Guelph where Sandy is right now. They just went, wait a second, I realized if I do it in the morning, none of these people are willing to wake up. So we just schedule the talk at 8:30 and there won't be any protests. And there weren't. And it's like in the heat of Peterson protest season, he could get them all to not show up by just having it be in the morning.
You'd think he was like a teacher or something and might know how students.
Yeah. Might know about the psychological profile of the people that show up to these things. Just maybe.
Well, I'm gonna go home in the house now. So good to talk with all of
Have
you.
fun with your kids. Try not to raise them to be communists.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. So
Their dad's in the house. What are the odds of that?
all right, see
Yeah,
ya.
bye, Michael. That Michael is a real mensch.
He is a real mensch.
I just like that Sandy is with her son and just eating ice cream with us.
Okay, hey,
Hello.
I've spent 90% of my life hanging out with my son, who is usually playing a video game or something.
That's all right. That's all right. Jacob, I gotta get going soon too. Do you have anything else you want to say to me?
I haven't been watching your videos. I probably should pay attention to the Bible studies on my channel one of these days.
It's fine.
Mhm.
It's going well. I mean, if that's anything to you.
That's good.
Yeah. Yoav actually is a regular attender and helps me with some of the Hebrew.
That's one of the major reasons I haven't kicked you off my channel.
Because you have other Jews keeping an eye on me. My friends,
Because
there is a conspiracy.
basically, yeah.
there's a Jewish authority making sure that I'm okay.
Yoav is my mashgiach. Yoav knows what a mashgiach is. I don't think you would. But,
No, I don't.
Yeah. A mashgiach is the supervisor at kosher restaurants, making sure that things are
Meets
kept
restrictions. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Sure, young
no,
God.
it's all right.
What's the conspiracy theory you want to ask? Yeah, and
Now we're all
Yoav
just
is
waiting
right.
with bated
What
breath.
is anybody doing in the Jordan Peterson sphere? I censored Yoav. Listening, learning. Yeah. Was there anything you wanted to talk about, David?
No, I just saw you. I like you. I wanted to talk to you.
You like me? Good
I
thing.
do.
Else I would kick you off my channel. Well, maybe.
You are the one person I know who would say, I hate that guy. He's a real son of a bitch. He's allowed to do Bible study only once a week. That's- You're the kind of guy that would do that.
Hey, if somebody wants to do Bible study and they actually know as much about the Bible as you do, I'm not sure I could say no, even if I like really dislike them. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something about after BB the Messiah is coming. Apparently, MMS, who's MMS, said this. Is it true in any way? Like that is similar. Let me put it this way. I have heard more people say that Trump is the Messiah than I have heard Manus Friedman, the top Chabad guy. Manus Friedman? Like, is that who you mean by MMS? Like, no, I can't imagine. I that the Rebbe said, Menachem Mendel Schneerson, the Rebbe, that's who you, that the Rebbe said after the Messiah. The Rebbe passed away in 1994. That was 30 years ago. Yes,
I think I know
the
what he's
Rebbe
talking
did
about.
meet with BB.
Yeah, I think I remember. I think I saw something where he did say like he felt like BB would be the last. I'm trying to remember exactly what he said.
These internet, have I told you about my favorite response to Jordan Peterson?
No, I don't think
Okay, let me tell you this story and then you can go. I'm sorry, it's a bit long. So I am looking at Jordan Peterson videos and I saw a YouTube comment that was just so glorious. I have tried to go back and find it. I have not been able to find this YouTube comment. It was one of those really long YouTube comments that you only find from somebody who's schizophrenic, right? And
some of them are bipolar. Please, please. Also autistic. Okay, please.
The autism, definitely.
Yes.
So this was his theory about why Jordan Peterson talks about lobsters so much. Okay, and this is part of the reason I have this lobster painting behind me, is because I loved this theory so much. This painting, by the way, was by Sally Joe. Thank you very much, Sally Joe. Okay. So this was his theory about why Jordan Peterson talks about lobsters so much. So in 19 something, for the Rebbe's birthday, Congress passed a proclamation declaring the Rebbe's birthday Education Day, in which they acknowledged his contributions to educating the entire world about the 7 Noahide laws. Okay? So, this guy thought that because they did that, right? Now the 7 Noahide laws are legally binding in the United States. Okay, and one of the 7 Noahide laws is not eating the limb of a live animal. And one time somebody asked the Rebbe, like, who does that? And the Rebbe said, well, people cook lobster when it's live, right? And although halakhically that actually doesn't apply, but like generally cruelty to animals is a bad thing, Noahide should not do, right? That was the Rebbe's point. But this guy thought that because the Rebbe said that, and because Congress passed this proclamation on the Rebbe's birthday, that made it legally binding in the United States, right? The 7 Noahide laws about lobsters.
Right.
That if you eat a lobster that was cooked while it was alive, and since Maimonides says that the punishment for violating the Noahide laws is capital punishment, he thought that Jordan Peterson was talking about lobsters to get people to be willing to have rabbinic courts put Gentiles to death for having eaten lobster.
Yeah. Okay. So 1 second. Jan God, you are in fact confused because the 613 does not refer to the Noahide laws, which are for the Goy, for the nations. The
Gentiles.
nations are still under the Noahide laws, which, by the way, in Florida, they sometimes harvest crabs where they rip one arm off of them and throw them back in. They only harvest the right 1 year and then they'll harvest the left another year because they like grow back. I think that kind of, I don't know if that's
it doesn't
related to any of
count.
this stuff.
The only thing I've found that technically counts that I'm like, please don't do this, is when they castrate bulls. They generally, people will actually have what's called Rocky Mountain oysters.
Oysters, right, where they eat them, yeah.
Yeah, and so that technically is like, please don't do this. Do not eat. Yeah, that as far as I know technically does count. Although I think there are people who would say even that doesn't count. But
Right.
yeah, like just don't be cruel to animals. Like that's a good
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think God only cares about humans? Does he not also care about the animals?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah, it's Canadian Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving,
Yes.
guys.
Thank you. Yeah. Just got back from the holiday. It was wonderful. What was it? Yeah, because cows are the females.
Trey
right?
defending eating Rocky Mountain oysters
Um,
because that's what Trey has to do.
Also, he doesn't know that the cows are never have their testicles taken because cows don't have testicles, Trey.
This is true.
What was I going to say? That logic. Do you know what Cockney rhyming slang is?
Yes, and I am amazed people can do it. Wow.
Yeah. There's the famous scene from Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, where they use so much Cockney rhyming slang that even though it's in English, you have to have subtitles. And my brother knew people who would say it. So one of the easiest ones to explain is you could describe a bar as a nuclear. Why? Nuclear sub rhymes with pub. And it's where put your dukes up comes from. Your fists as your dukes. Put up your dukes. Duke of York. York rhymes with fork, and fork is an old word for hand.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
that's the kind of logic we're talking about.
Yeah, like I have seen many examples, like the Wikipedia article on rhyming slang I have read, and it's like, wow, I have no idea how human beings actually.
Yeah, how'd you do this?
But
and this is the way that some of this logic works. Someone sent me one just the other day that was talking about how the God in the Bible is actually Enlil from the Epic of Gilgamesh, and then they were like, and then this was that, and I was just like, no, incorrect. This is Cockney rhyming slang logic. You made the connection. You don't need to, and most people wouldn't understand it.
So this is one of the things. I don't know if you saw Gavin Ortland's. Gavin Ortland finally decided to mention Sam, our Sam, in his latest video on heresy, of course.
Yeah.
And he's really big on this I am being proof that Jesus called himself the tetragram. And like,
I love where this is going. I have to go immediately. I am so sorry. I will continue watching, so I will be thinking about this. And I know exactly your thoughts on it and how it's just like, hey, you can just say I am sometimes. You can do it.
Well,
I just did it. You just did it.
Not only that, but how would anybody know? Like, I can't imagine how you could in Hebrew say, I am the tetragrammaton. Like, I don't even know how you would say it.
Okay.
Like, it's the ineffable name because nobody says it.
Because no one F's it, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yoav says, I think, therefore I'm God. Yeah.
I'm probably not going to be nearly as intelligent a conversationalist on that topic. But
you know more Hebrew than David does.
I've been negligent in practicing, but
You still know more Hebrew.
Okay, maybe. I am working on it.
Sam has 4 kids now and is on the board of the school board where he lives, and he started a house church. So he's kind of busy.
Oh,
Trey,
wow.
why aren't you at work?
I will be. So basically what happens is they put...
Can't hear you, Trey.
Can't hear you. Although we can hear ourselves echoing through your mic.
Does Trey really have a job?
Trey not only has a job, he has a job that I've decided not to mention because it's classified.
Do you know how many people that hang out around here have jobs where it's somewhat classified and or they can't show their face?
Apparently more than I knew.
I think Trey's frozen.
I think Trey is frozen. I think God is trying to tell Trey something.
I'm deciding how far we are going to walk based on the color of the sky.
Because it might rain?
It was raining a little bit, but it's also very cold. And I am not... Jacob's got his hoodie on, so...
I don't have a hoodie on. What are you talking about?
No, you don't. You don't even have your hat on. Oh, shoot. Come on. I was just kidding about rain.
Probably should. It's probably like my cold is probably not getting any better with me sitting here, not without my hat on.
See, there you go. You know, with that hat on, you could almost look like a Canuck.
Familia Batsani says, so when the Hebrews asked God who sent him to Egypt, and he was told to say the Tetragrammaton, what did he say? You are quoting the Bible. That's not what he said. He said, Ahyeh asher ehyeh. I am becoming that which I am becoming sent me. And you will notice I say the word ehyeh just fine. It's not the Tetragrammaton. Sorry. And that is the argument. Like they're like, he said I am, and I am refers to ehia asher ehia, but that's not actually the tetragrammaton. So sorry.
Wouldn't. Yeah, why would I am be the tetragrammaton?
Oh, well,
Like-
okay. So the tetragrammaton is obviously related to the Hebrew word to be. But there is no present tense of the verb to be in Hebrew.
Yeah, I was reading that again today. Something that YouTube fed me just because time of year, things I watch.
So Thanksgiving fair
Yeah,
in Canada, that's like you guys are celebrating. I am.
sure. Here's one of our local. This is Guelph River, one of the major rivers in Guelph. My son makes me walk quite a bit, and he walks very fast. We Thanksgiving. I don't know what most people do in for Thanksgiving in Canada, but I went to see Joshua, and that was a 10-hour drive each way. And I got smart and started to listen to people this year and did not also try to make the 6-hour. Sorry, I'm covering my phone. I didn't also drive 6 more hours back down to see my sister and back up to return him home. So it was a very peaceful kind of Thanksgiving, actually. This is not working. I think the phone's okay. I'm getting rained on.
Don't catch gold.
Probably not. The last few years, even though through COVID, I didn't get sick until after COVID, and then I had several bad cases of bronchitis-like stuff in June or July. So
Bronchitis is not a good thing for you to have. You should stop that.
yeah, I hadn't had it for 7 years or so. I was surprised first time I got it. But generally, I'm pretty healthy.
From now on, if you're going to get bronchitis, I think you should ask for permission first.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at asking people for permission, but who has to give me permission to have bronchitis?
Me.
There you go. Oh, okay.
You're only allowed to get bronchitis if you ask permission first. Otherwise, no more bronchitis for you. Sorry.
Okay. No more bronchitis.
No more bronchitis.
Sorry. I'm nodding hi to somebody going past in, one of those like fleece things that keep you warm or do you get cool weather? I don't know.
In California?
He's got his toucan. He's got his, like hoodie thing like Jacob's got on. And he's got one of those fleece things, and I'm wearing a short sleeve summer sweater. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really get cold weather here in California.
Well,
at least not in Southern California. Certainly not as close to the beach as I am.
differences of opinion on cold weather are kind of the thing here, I guess, because everybody at work when I go in asks if I'm not freezing. And I'm kind of like, no. I'm looking at Jacob. I'm going, I spent my 20s and 30s doing freezing. Now I seem to be okay.
Okay.
Although stupidity will still get me sick with something if I'm not careful.
Yeah. I don't know.
Why are you sick?
This
You've been sick a few times this year. Too much homework?
I think it's the same. No, I don't think that's it. I don't know. I blame Andrew for this cough. He's the one who gave me this cold.
Well, people that work in gyms and other places with lots of people around.
Oh yeah, I actually Jack told me about that. He's like, you should be very careful about we've actually been going to the gym weekly basis. So I've been working out a little bit. I guess that could be the cause of me getting more sick.
My physio still has like spray and a cloth available. People can wipe down when they're done because you never know who's carrying what.
I guess.
You're gonna sweat all over the equipment. If you've had a cold or something and you're breathing on yourself, or if you do like most people do and they forget. Food workers, Andrew should know this. You cough into your shoulder, not your hand, which you then pick other things up with. But he is like he's like 100 feet ahead of me. That kid can power walk, always has been able to. I don't know. Even when he was little. He just goes. This is good for me. So I was going to tell you before David left. He's given me a couple of rundowns on the feasts in Israel and his take on things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's his take on things?
Well, actually, it was quite interesting. So we were talking about, we're talking about the temple, the horns on the altar, various things. But he was also talking about some of his, why is he a Messianic Christian and stuff like that. How does that come into play? And that everybody should study the feasts, which is interesting because I did have a book I bought on that in 2012. But having now spoken with David about it, I realized the book is really light on information. It basically just, it was written for Christians. Can I tell you? Pretty sure it was. Put out by one of your favorite organizations. Yeah. So I'm still trying to figure out all the Noahide stuff and how to avoid becoming Catholic.
There's nothing wrong with becoming Catholic.
Yeah. I know. All right. That's good. Over this side of the bridge, there is no rain. I don't know. It's only raining on the other side.
Canadians.
That's right. I love being Canadian. Of course, it's the only thing I know. I talk about my dad being Scottish, but I only went there once when I was 11, and there's not much I remember of that.
Dawn wants to know, is there an origin story for Canadian Thanksgiving?
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was your basic one you get in the States.
So our origin story is when the Pilgrims first came, they met with the Native Americans who taught them how to do like find food and stuff, and they had a feast together, and yeah, that was the original Thanksgiving.
Basically that. I was just going to say that we Europeans were a little bit too stupid to know how to look after ourselves through the rough weather, and so the Indians came and took pity on us, fed us, and we were thankful. So therefore,
But how'd you guys have pilgrims? You're still British subjects. Like, you didn't even want to get away from the Anglicans. You're still all Anglicans.
yeah.
Wow, Reverend Helm Street.
So Lloyd's listening.
We actually mentioned the CRC Purple Mafia earlier in the stream.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what the affirming crowd were called.
Purple Mafia works.
You do know I have gay friends, right?
You know, I have gay friends. There's a difference between being gay and being part of the Purple Mafia. And I have to tell you, a much larger percentage of people I would call Purple Mafia are not gay. It's the Karens who are doing it for the gay people.
Yes, I've had people working on getting me to step away from certain conversational places because it's not good for me.
Reverend Lloyd, this is your internalized heterophobia. The Purple Mafia is all one body.
Oh,
That's the first time I've heard Karen as a collective noun. Really?
what?
Karen?
I even heard that like at least 3 to 5 years ago.
Oh, come on. Like, white women are the scourge of the world.
I've heard that.
Okay, so Purple Mafia actually is the term for the pedophile priests pedophile priest actually isn't fair either, because they're mostly so in the Catholic hierarchy, there is a not trivial number of gay men who feel they were forced to become Catholic priests. And there's an internal club of them, which they've been doing all kinds of horrible things. and they've started being exposed. And so that's where the term comes from. Is the Purple Mafia is the closeted gay priests specifically in Italy, in the Vatican, and like Cardinal McCarran definitely was, or was it McCarrick? Cardinal, what's the name of that cardinal who was defrocked?
I always thought it was a bigger problem than that. At least even here you see things where there's attitudes and trickle down effects from some of the
Cardinal Theodore McCarrick. He was the head of the Purple Mafia. Yeah.
That's not recent, is it? That's like,
I mean, he was laicized in 2000.
like 20, 30 years ago.
No.
No?
No. He was laicized. He was laicized February 2019.
So is this different than
He
sort
was
of
Archbishop of Washington until 2006.
well, I know at least in Canada there were complaints made in various dioceses about specific priests, but that was not recent. So is that a
No.
separate
Hold
issue?
on. Okay, you have to
That's
keep
it.
two things separate.
That's
There's
okay.
the
So
pedophile priests, and then there's the Purple Mafia priests,
okay.
and the two of them have some relationship, but they're not overlapping. It's like a Venn diagram. Kamala Harris's Venn diagram, you know, and it's like, yeah,
Okay, I didn't realize there was two issues being that.
well, that's part of the problem. Is the two issues get I think at least by some people deliberately become combined because it actually helps to it helps to cover things and make things less clear. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because sadly, I think even in other conversations, you'll hear that things that happen are more related to gay issues than they actually are. I think there's a lot of things that happen that have nothing to do with it.
So PVK once said this, and I was like, "Oh my God, he's so." He said, "Why do we focus so much on the gay issue? Because we don't want to talk about heterosexual sins. It's a lot easier to talk about the gays than to talk about, for example, the pornography epidemic."
Which is probably it's probably been around at least as long and has caused a lot more harm.
I mean, by the numbers, it's definitely caused a lot more harm. But yeah. Come on, Clara. Come on, jump on a chatting stream. Just chatting stream. You know you want to.
Hey, Clara.
Do a real ethnography. Like, actually jump in.
You're allowed to take off your educator hat or whatever, your PhD hat, and just be a person, a real life person for like a whole hour of conversation.
You know what, Clara? I'll even let you keep your camera off if you really want to. And the Reverend Hemstreet, as always. I spend far more time preaching against pornography, but I also don't have anyone in my denomination arguing for the goodness of pornography. You're luckier than I am, Reverend. There are definitely people who go around calling themselves rabbis who talk about ethical pornography, etc. So you're luckier than we are. Thank God there's no Orthodox Jews making such stupid arguments, but the other denominations do exist.
I have issues of old brain where I half remember something. There was somebody talking recently about Reform Judaism and some of the consequences. It reminded me of you and David's comment earlier to Michael about how difficult it is to repent of things or to acknowledge such.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have no idea what he's playing here. I never know what he's playing. I just know that he's always doing puzzles of some kind and laughing because he's 3 miles ahead of the solution.
We have
So,
Sarah. I think there she is.
What's up?
Hey.
hey,
So we're just chatting.
we're
I've
just
only
chatting.
definitely been around for a little bit.
So what do you want to chat about, Clara?
I don't know. Y'all were talking about pornography. I don't want the reputation as someone who makes people talk about pornography. So
Okay, so we won't talk about pornography. That was something I wanted to talk to you about. I forget what it was. Your conversation with Karen was very interesting.
Karen is such a great host.
She is. She is. It's a matter of like it's she's actually, I would say she has the same. Sandy, your mic's loud. You can turn yourself off. So Joe Rogan, like, I don't care. Like, I actually care to hear what Karen says a lot more than Joe Rogan, because like I'm not that interested in Joe Rogan talking. But he is incredibly good at talking to the people who talk about the interesting things that I find interesting. In a very similar manner, I think Karen has that skill of bringing out like interesting conversations in people.
Mm-hmm.
I think I should probably listen to more of her stuff with what's his name? Gabe. Because every time Gabe's come on my channel, we've had really interesting conversations. He may be the only person that like I have yet to find a disagreement with. Oh, that's actually interesting. I messaged you about disagreements.
You did, yeah.
Yeah. Here, let me play the clip I was talking about. Where's that clip? It was 46. Okay. So this is from Paul's video this morning.
Wait, you're clipping Paul talking to me, talking to Karen.
Yeah.
For me on your stream. This is wild. Okay.
Why is this wild?
Because of their racial politics or attitudes, but because they feel like it's a sort of pushback to them. This sort of something's being taken from them because they're being maybe asked by sort of woke people. I don't know, is this what you're getting at, Karen? But they're sort of being asked to.
No. This isn't the one I meant. It was Paul's video. Yeah. Sorry. 40.
Anxious, kind of going into these spaces, right? And you're like, oh, maybe this person doesn't like me, or oh, this person and I might disagree about this particular thing, right? But then, like you say, this kind of humanity of it, people met, and there was no disagreement, there was no rehashing of whatever happened online.
There was no disagreement. You say that like that's a good thing.
Yeah. Okay, so it's interesting that you point this out, and I love that you point this out. And then also separately, I could clarify what I think I meant there. So I don't know. There's two different directions, and I don't know which one to take. Okay. So let me clarify what I think I meant.
Okay.
You're using my strategy. This is weird, Jacob. I like to be sort of the person who's like, and you just gestured at me. We'll talk about it later. I'll stop meta-analyzing it while we're talking. I can do that. I can turn it off. What was I saying? So Karen, the interaction there with Karen, I think what I meant to say is that the interactions that I first observed were not characterized by conflict. Whereas I feel like some of the relationships that I've observed online, y'all might take issue. Oh, Sandy might have to go. Okay. But some of the issues, some of the things that I've observed online, I think are relationships that some of them are characterized by conflict, I think. And that's something I'm willing to be sort of questioned on and pushed on, because I don't know that I want to necessarily say that that's where I'm landing. That's something I'm sort of considering. Are relationships online characterized by conflict? Whereas meeting people in person, I kind of felt like, just in that moment, it was more characterized by whatever spark or whatever. It was something that was new. It was something that was fresh. It was something that wasn't characterized completely by, where you think about this particular theology or what you think about, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I know exactly what you mean, and I definitely want to riff on it, but I also want to hear the second thing you wanted to say.
Oh, okay. I am really fascinated that you kind of called me out on that. Like this sort of, what would it be if there was no conflict? And how do you see, we've talked about this a little bit, but how do you see conflict kind of happening? So those are kind of the two directions that popped up in my head just as you played that.
Okay. I mean, this kind of goes into Marshall McLuhan, the medium is the message, So part of what I have deliberately been trying to do is I try to spend more time with people off stream than on stream. Okay. And I think that's really important because there is a dynamic. And this really gets into my conspiracy theories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I actually think that there is a deliberate attempt, which people like, I can't prove who they is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that in fact there is the algorithm. I think there is a systemic pressure, right? Which indeed does cause discord, and I don't think it's some sort of like coincidence that the name of the platform we end up using is called Discord. I really don't.
I'm taking notes as you're talking, Jacob. Let me take some notes.
Well, this video is going to be up. You don't have to take notes right now. You can
it helps me think.
Okay. You're allowed. I allow you to take notes.
Definitely let her take notes. I understand the note-taking thinking.
You're making this elaborate argument. I've got my 3 o'clock brain on.
So YouTube as a platform obviously very much does thrive off of have you heard of the Debate Bros?
No, Jay. No, I haven't heard of anything.
So Debate Bros is kind of a community on an adjacent community on YouTube, which is people who have debates like left and right. And so on a larger scale, right? So TYT, the Young Turks, and Daily Wire, they feed off of this algorithmic and economic model, which causes dissension and division. Okay. And so when we have like videos going back and forth, when we have the videos that people end up actually watching and engaging with,
Mhm.
right? That is going to be based on conflict, because the way our attention, I mean, so this is part of my theory of distributed cognition, is most people don't actually critically evaluate the things. Well, I think all people don't critically evaluate a majority of their beliefs because they can't. It's just too much. I
Yeah.
think generally for most of our beliefs, and I would say at least 30% of the population, maybe up to 60% of the population, don't critically evaluate any of their beliefs. And I think that's in fact what Karen was talking about. Like, she didn't think about things until she was in her 30s, right?
Yeah.
Because we have a distributed cognitive mechanism where we pay attention to those things which we care about. We pay attention to other people talking about those things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the discourse, and this is where the postmodernists actually, like, their concept of discourse is very correct. That we become engrossed in the discourse, we stake out the contours of the discourse, and we tend to want to be somewhere in the middle. That's a normal tendency to have. So you find someone who you characterize as being on the right, you find someone who you characterize as being on the left, right?
Mhm.
And then you listen to those two people discuss things,
Mhm.
and you triangulate your own beliefs based on, okay, I see where these two people who disagree very much agree, so that must be true, right? And I may take some from here and some from there and try to find this golden mean. And that's what a discourse allows.
Well, let me push back on that.
Okay.
Because if we're really doing that, then why do we have such a problem with polarization where the left is getting further left and the right's getting further right?
So this goes back to Edward Bernays.
Okay.
So what happened with Edward Bernays, and then the following work of the postmodernists, is there was an awareness of this mechanism. What?
You're almost describing a dialectic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. There became an awareness of this mechanism, and an attempt, not just an attempt, or many attempts, to actually start hacking this. I compare it, and that's why I compare the work of Bernays to the Manhattan Project. Here, I'll show you one of my favorites, little clips. So I compare Bernays' work with the Manhattan Project in that it helped us understand, helped some people understand. Obviously, not everyone knows how to make a nuclear bomb. The fundamental physics, you might call, of our society, in a way that has allowed some people to actually manipulate it. And that's where the long march through the institutions, not sure you've heard that term before.
March through the institutions?
Long march through the institutions.
No, it feels like a parallel. What's it paralleling?
The Long March, Mao's Long March.
To the institutions, though. No, you have to give me some. I'm sorry, I apologize because I think it's kind of understood that I should have this background, but I really don't.
I'm not sure. I mean, this is so Rudy Dutschke, I think his name was, came up with. Here, I'll send you the Wikipedia article. And in fact, why don't I just show it to people?
Great.
So this is from Wikipedia, which is one of the institutions through which our overlords destroy our society.
Really?
Yes.
As a young person, Jacob, I was always so skeptical of Wikipedia, but as like a grown-up, I kind of like how you can find out anything about anything and anybody can add to it.
Well, no. It used to be when I first started getting involved in Wikipedia. Yeah, anybody could add to it. Now it's very locked down. It is the amount of control that is exerted on Wikipedia. If you are not aware of Chris Rufo's expose of the current CEO of NPR, who used to be at the Wikimedia Foundation, I think that's incredibly important.
This is a broader channel than I was thinking of telling, but yeah, no, this is important background that I've neglected.
Okay. The Long March Through the Institutions is a slogan coined by socialist student activist Rudy Dutschke around 1967 to describe his strategy to create radical change in government by becoming part of it. The phrase Long March is a reference to the physical Long March of the Chinese Communist Army. From Antonio Gramsci, George Lukács, Che Guevara, Mao Zedong, right? And this is an open conspiracy, which has in fact resulted in our institutions being perverted and being dominated by communists.
There's a charge that the people in our institutions I don't think would follow through. So help me out there, because
so this actually goes into kind of what we were discussing this morning, right? So you're a student at Notre Dame.
That's right.
And you're loosely affiliated with Notre Dame. Right? It's not like if Clara suddenly decided, like, how much influence do you have in Notre Dame? Like, could you suddenly decide, hey, you know what? We're not doing this DEI anymore, and for admissions, we are no longer going to look at sex and race. Could you decide that at Notre Dame? Do you think?
There are very strict policies. I think I've seen people get in trouble for as much as holding a protest sign. There's very, very little you can do as a student, even a graduate student, without getting in big trouble.
Yeah. So and this is what I mean when I say you are a cog in the Nazi machine. Like, I'm not saying that to be mean. I am saying it to be provocative. I would like you to kind of chafe at the idea that you're a Nazi. Do you chafe at the idea you're a Nazi?
No, I'm coming at this with two minds, right? Because on the one hand, I want to understand, because I think, an accusation like that really needs to be understood, right? To be heard and seen and really, really sort of taken in. So on the one hand, I want to have this openness to understanding. And on the other hand, if I'm thinking with my personal war hat, just failed the game. What the hell, young God? If you want to talk to me, fucking talk to me. For heaven's sake, I'll say that. I'll only drop one F-bomb today, I hope.
You didn't. You're not failing the game at all, Clara. You're not.
Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, yeah, obviously a shave at being called a Nazi. On the other hand, I'm listening to understand why you would make that accusation. So I'm hearing you say I'm a part of this institution, and I am. But you're calling Nazi sympathizing or Nazi. What are you calling it?
A cog in the Nazi machine.
Sure. I mean,
and these are my knights and mooks coming. So this is look. The fact is, even Notre Dame, I'm sure that there's nobody who at Notre Dame is like, yeah, we're gonna make it so that lots of young white men commit suicide, right? There's nobody who's actually sitting there cackling like, oh, I'm going to murder a bunch of young white men.
No one I know of, certainly.
What?
No one I know of.
And there really isn't. There really isn't anybody sitting cackling. Well, maybe Kimberly Crenshaw here at UCLA. She might cackle at something like that. There are very few psychopaths like that in the world. Okay? Kimberly Crenshaw, I could believe, would be happy about young white men killing themselves. And there's a reason why I'm making the specific accusation against her. Okay? Because I think there are actual people like that who she is involved in the long march through the institutions. She is ideologically captured by critical race theory in a manner which is deliberate, intelligent, and evil. Okay? Have you heard of Kimberly Crenshaw? Do you know who she is?
No, I don't know. I was going to, really on the slide try to save face here in Wikipedia, Kimberly Crenshaw. So
she's a professor of law at UCLA.
Okay.
And she came up with the term intersectionality.
Oh, okay. I don't think she can. I mean, she's probably one of the people in the. So there's more than just her who would talk about intersectionality. Okay.
Well, no, she came up with that term.
Okay. So
she is the innovator of that term into the literature.
Okay. So obviously, I mean, yeah. Now this is sort of meeting my sort of domain here. Okay, so we're starting with intersectionality, and you're saying this is helpful. Jacob. You're saying that she is responsible. There's a connection between suicidality of young white men or boys and this idea of intersectionality.
Oh, she's deliberately. I believe she deliberately is. I believe she is deliberately influencing our society to negatively affect those she believes have privilege that they do not deserve and should be taken away from.
And quick question: intersectionality is
Okay, so intersectionality is actually a very intelligent. This is why I dislike the fact that people try to dismiss her as being stupid. She's not stupid. She's evil. Intersectionality is the idea that a Black woman lives in a situation which is not merely the sum of being Black and being a woman, right? There are certain influences in society which influence a woman, right? And there are certain other influences which influence a Black man, right? And what she would term marginalization, which I think is wrong, right? But at the intersection, right, of being a woman who is Black, there are emergent properties to that condition, which are not merely the sum of the oppressions that she would turn, and the marginalization that is being Black or being a woman.
We're making these arguments. I'm also thinking Patricia Hill Collins as being a sort of a founding sort of person in some of this stuff.
I don't know that name.
Maybe it's more just a sociological take, because I mean, you said that this person is, that Kimberly Crenshaw is law.
Yeah, she's a law professor. She's a student of Derek Bell, I believe is the name.
Okay. Yeah, just a little bit sort of adjacent, but yeah, I can't think of any of her papers right off the top, so I don't really want to dig too deeply. But so the idea of intersectionality as oh, here we go. I'm getting a little bit more of her stuff here. Okay, but the idea of intersectionality is a problem, right? Because this idea that it's multiplicative, the effects of.
Well, the idea isn't a problem. I mean, the idea, she's basically right about that. I mean, intersectionality does exist.
Okay, where do you take issue with it?
What I take issue with is not comprehending that there's also there's an intersectional being a white man isn't, so she has a this idea of like the intersectional stack, right? So if you're a white man, then you're the most privileged person, right? And she, as a Black, I like to say Schadenfreude is a sin, and I am the greatest of sinners. When I'm really feeling down and I really need a pick-me-up, a Schadenfreude pick-me-up, the Canadian Broadcast Corporation has my favorite election night 2016 coverage of Trump beating Hillary Clinton. And every once in a while, and I'm not the only one, I go back and I watch it.
Most people just eat chocolate, Jacob. I don't understand.
Yeah, but this is healthier than chocolate. And there's this Black lesbian commentator on there. Probably the most privileged person I have ever encountered.
Sure.
Right?
That depends on how we're talking about privilege.
In every manner. And she is just losing her mind. And at one point she says something like, I don't know if I'm going to be married tomorrow. And it's like, you are so stupid that you can say something that stupid on international television, actually, be paid as a commentator, and treated as an intellectual. Like, is it histrionics? What is it about her that makes her feel that I should have anything less than utter contempt for her? Supposedly being so oppressed by the fact that a bunch of uneducated white people have actually exerted a small modicum of power, of political power. Like, she is so privileged, and it reminds me of the the experiment where it wasn't an experiment, it was an unfortunate incident at a zoo where they decided to give the chimps a birthday cake.
I haven't heard about this.
So they gave a chimp a birthday cake, and the other chimps got so angry they killed one of the zookeepers.
Yeah, no, I hadn't heard about this particular incident.
Chimpanzees are notoriously vindictive, and if you look in behavioral economics, human beings are also like, if human beings will in fact they'll take less money. Slavoj Žižek likes to tell there's apparently he's Serbian, right? There's a Serbian aphorism about a genie comes to a person and says, I'll grant you any wish you want, but just beware, whatever I give you, I will do twice to your neighbor.
His prisoner's dilemma kind of experiment.
And the guy says, make me blind in one eye. Right? That Slavoj Žižek likes to say that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, envy can be can be bad, and frankly, I think much of Marxism is purely envy, right? The anger with which some people met the wonderful achievement of Elon Musk recently, a couple of days ago, with the rocket landing safely, right?
Okay.
So there is look, we have a sense of fairness, and this does get into Jonathan Haidt's righteous mind, right? But the question becomes, what is actually fair? Kimberly Crenshaw and this black lesbian on CBC television, right? They genuinely believe that they are victims, and they genuinely believe that all will be right in the world if they make white men suffer.
Are they okay? I guess my question here is: are they trying to make white men suffer?
Yes.
Or are they trying to seek out some kind of equity? I think would be the term they would use.
That is the term they would use, but that's actually what Brett Weinstein recognized at Evergreen, and why Evergreen is so fundamental as a foundational myth in this little corner. How aware of you are of Benjamin Boyce's work?
Educate me, Jacob. That's why I come on your streams here.
So Benjamin Boyce, he's kind of part of the satellites here. He's been on Paul's channel. There's a lot of overlap with Benjamin Boyce's people and Paul Vanderklay's. What happened at Evergreen? So he was actually a film student at Evergreen before what happened to Brett Weinstein. Do you know the story of Brett Weinstein?
I just know bits and pieces. I haven't pieced together the whole. I really feel kind of clueless about some of these things.
Okay, so Evergreen College, Evergreen State University, is in Olympia, Washington.
That much I got.
Nate actually did go to school there.
Oh, I thought that was a joke.
No, Nate actually did go to school there.
That's not a joke. That's for real.
That's for real, yeah.
Okay.
So Evergreen State was established in a very left-wing manner. They don't give grades, they give written evaluations. They don't have courses. They have semester-long programs, right?
Sure.
And Brett Weinstein and Heather Heying taught there. They were two of the more popular professors there in biology. And what happened in 2016, and this was instigated with okay. This was instigated by the election of Donald Trump. Was Brett Weinstein found himself on the wrong side of the intersectional mafia. And so he's always been very left wing. He comes from a family that's been very involved in left wing politics. Eric Weinstein, Brett Weinstein, the family is very much from the, I don't know if you know about Workers' Circle in the Jewish community, like literal Marxists, very, very Marxist part of, very, very Marxist part of secular Jewish culture. It's semi-dead now, but you will still see, for example, there's a building, the Jewish Workers' Circle building here in Los Angeles still. Anyway, so they were very involved in literally communist politics, that their family, right? And so Brett Weinstein has always seen himself very much on the left.
Sure.
And his wife, similarly, very much on the left. And what happened was, so there was, there's been a tradition at Evergreen State ever since the 60s of what's called Day of Absence, which is all of the students of color are invited to absent themselves from school for one day, right? Sure. And there's a play which it's playing on, which in order to show their contribution to society, right? And this has been going on for many, many years. And what they decided to do instead was invite the white students to absent themselves this time, because they wanted to decenter whiteness.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And Brett Weinstein said, "Oh no. This is now you're no longer trying to level the field. Now this is a show of force." You know, did you see my video with Milagro? Let me pull it up for you. Milagro Jones. I will put the link in the chat, and I will also DM it to you.
You have to spend like a whole day just on Jacob's DMs. Thank you for that. It is a time commitment.
Oops, I sent you. Sorry about. I sent you a link to the wrong thing. I have no idea why I sent you that Google Doc. I sent you is my workout schedule. That's not going to help you. I don't know what I meant to send you that I didn't send you. Oh, it was. I meant to send you the Long March to the Institutions. That's what I meant to send you.
Excellent.
Let me send you that. Okay. Did I put my workout schedule also in the chat? I must have.
No.
No, I don't think I did. Okay. So what were we talking about? We're talking about Milagro. Okay. So this is something people have started seeing. And I mean, this happens. There are people who, in the name of undoing oppression, start advocating for oppression.
Sure.
Ibram Kendi, ex-Kendi, very explicitly in his book argues that I think he terms it the remedy to past oppression is present oppression.
Does he say that exactly?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, these people are actually evil, Clara.
Okay, well, I have read his book in recent memory. Let me. Oppression, is that the word he would use? I'm sorry, I'm here to listen.
Past discrimination is present discrimination. Fine. What's the difference?
Now that you say that, I don't remember the first iteration, but
Oppression versus discrimination.
yes, there is a difference. There is a difference. Oppression is the systematic, I don't want to say exclusion, but lowering of status of a group, whereas discrimination is a process that's happening at a different level. So I would distinguish those as happening at different levels and different ways.
Is discrimination good or bad, Clara?
Because sometimes we discriminate for all sorts of reasons. It depends on the reason. It depends on the context.
Okay, so discrimination against blacks in the 60s,
Honestly,
depending on context, would be fine.
Yeah, but there's all sorts of like banal discrimination that's happening. Like if you go down a roller coaster, you have to be 6 feet tall, or not 6 feet, obviously, it'd be way too tall. But like you have to be this tall to ride the roller coaster, right? That's discrimination.
You sound like the university presidents that were talking about, saying kill the Jews depends on
conflict,
context.
What I really think.
What?
You said you like conflict. I'm here to tell you what I really think.
I want you to tell me what you really think.
Well,
at the same time, I want you to recognize that you are making the exact argument that those 3 university presidents made at the
I haven't made an argument about race yet.
What?
I haven't made an argument. I was making a technical distinction between oppression and discrimination based on what you said that Kendi said.
I am definitely not trolling at all. I think that this is an argument, and I've heard your I hope I have heard your side, and I'm glad you're making that argument. At the same time, I want to make clear that this is an argument that leads to incredible evil. And that's what I'm fighting against.
Let's trace it back, though. I do want to hear what you were saying, and I'm gonna take a step back because I feel like I can't listen and talk at the same time.
So, let's go back to Ibram Kendi, right?
Sure.
I believe that he directly advocates for evil, which is, let's look at what's going on at Harvard and the Supreme Court case. So Japanese Americans are, without a doubt, have been some of the worst treated American citizens in the history of the United States. There are people living in Los Angeles who are the children and grandchildren of people who were interned during World War II. They prior to that, they were subject to the Chinese Exclusion Act. They were, if not de jure, but de facto, in a state of, let's say, bondage. It wasn't chattel slavery, but somebody who is a Japanese, 3rd, 4th generation Japanese American in California has experienced some of the worst experiences in unfairness in the United States. I don't think that's even arguable. That person in applying to Harvard University legally before the Supreme Court decision, which thank God I am so glad about. Harvard University still has a position that it is right to discriminate against that Japanese American person in order to somehow cause equity for a Nigerian American. Let's talk about one of the children of Michelle and Barack Obama. Barack Obama's mother side of the family are very wealthy people who are descended from slave owners. On his father's side of the family, we're talking about East African aristocracy who probably became aristocracy, I'm almost undoubtedly, by selling black slaves. Barack Obama's children would somehow deserve to be given preferences to reverse discrimination at Harvard University against a child of Japanese Americans here in California. We're talking about very exact injustice, which Harvard University calls justice. This is so obvious. I can't imagine how anyone would disagree with it. Yet, that is the official position of Harvard University. Why do we live in this society which is willing to accept that argument?
Yeah.
Hey, Jacob.
Hello, Khezi. How are you doing?
Thank God. Hey, Clara.
Am I being too mean to Clara?
I don't think you're being too mean.
Okay.
I think the people in the comments are being a little persnickety, but it's all good.
Well, I mean, this is probably going to be very popular, and people are the mooks and knights are definitely probably going to.
Jacob, I would ask.
Yeah.
Let's think about this for a moment. I mean, you could say that Ta-Nehisi Coates or Kimberly Crenshaw, they're grossly negligent, right?
No, they're evil.
Okay, that's your opinion. I'm going to say right now that they're grossly negligent right now, to say the least. But let's assume that they're not. Their intentions, right, are good, right? Obviously, they're like we're saying.
No, where did you get this idea? Their intentions are good.
Second, Jacob. Their intention. Just play with me for a second.
Why?
I'm in the sandbox.
No, give me one shred of evidence that these horrible people have any good intentions.
Okay. So now they're going and saying, we were just going to take this concept of equity, right? And I think you and I are identifying that as a problematic term, right? And those utterances, like you said, they lead to disastrous outcomes many, many times. However, there is an imbalance, right? There is seemingly a lot of pain and suffering out there in the world, and we see these issues. And you've been doing your own good work, just like on the mental health level with Fountains of Comfort. But we see that there's issues out there. So I'm asking you, Jacob, just from a Jewish perspective, right? Because obviously we focus constantly in the Bible on the widow, on the orphan, right? On the downtrodden, right? So that's obviously the focus. We have to make sure these people are being taken care of. So I'm asking you because we know that the system that we have clearly has tremendous loopholes and cracks, and people fall between them. So how do you think it would be best addressed? What would you recommend a Jewish prescription for some people to addressing this while trying to achieve obviously harmony for many people.
Okay. First of all, I want to acknowledge Clara has to leave soon, and so she's not fleeing. Don't be mean to her. Part of, my mission here, the reason I have my channel is precisely that. And frankly, I think part of the solution is to name evil as evil. We have to recognize that Kimberly Crenshaw, it doesn't matter if she's just negligent or deliberately trying to destroy our society. That is the effect. The life expectancy in the United States has been going down. A prime reason for that is young men committing suicide. That, I think, is directly attributable to the racism that she advocates for.
Correlation does not equal causation, Jacob.
No. Correlation does not. Every single person who confuses correlation with causation dies in the end. I realize that. But the question becomes, why are so many young men? And this is Will Ferrell's book, The Boy Crisis. Again, Christine Hoff Sommers, she's done great work on this. Gamergate is part of the background of this movement you're seeing. Kimberly Crenshaw, I am not just wildly throwing out a conspiracy theory. The deliberate mistreatment of white men, which she has advocated for, is I could give you book after book after book, which shows this is the Grievance Project, which James Lindsay, they actually got peer reviewed a proposal for making white boys, little kids, to sit in chains in class. And the peer reviewers of that article said they were being too nice to the little boys.
Don't you think that says a lot more about the few people who are freely giving their time to peer review shit when they've got 5,000 other commitments than it says about the whole institution of folks who are coming up with this? I don't like this treatment of Kimberly Crenshaw. I'm not going to lie, but because to call her evil just because of her perspective, which is also
she's Goebbels.
One second, but Clara,
she is Hitler. She is
we're gonna have
the intellectual. She is the intellectual leader of a movement of harm directed at a community, at innocent children. She is evil. When I say you are part of the cog that is Nazi, right? And this, again, Brett Weinstein, why did he feel as a Jew he has to respond to this deliberate marginalization and, yes, steps towards genocide, a white genocide?
Clara, as someone that is, I have a hard time sometimes with these expressions, grouping you with Nazis or seeing Kimberly Crenshaw as a Nazi. I do, however, think that Jacob is touching on a point over here that if you have we throw out terms of someone's possessed by like a demonic ideology, but if you have if your philosophies and your ideologies are leading to harm and are nonsensical many times, and that's why I use the term grossly negligent, because from a legal perspective, you are fully responsible then. And it does really, you have to ask, what kind of responsibility do you have for espousing such ideas and pushing those ideas? And like Jacob is saying, I don't know if we could point that, like, Incel X that killed himself read her book, but we saw that, and this is obviously also due to social media, but the way these ideas spread is quite terrifying, and they could create a lot of damage. And what's been beautiful is seeing how you've been exposed to this community, right? And talking to Karen and seeing like, wow, it's been so profound and such an effect on me. There could be the opposite effect of that, right? If I'm right now in college and I'm looking for myself and I hear that everyone's having this idea, and I'll only be accepted if I accept this idea, I also want to have that place where people see me and I feel like I could be part of that conversation. And these ideas, not all ideas, but many of them could be definitely, if they flatten everything and create a very simple oppressor. That's one of the narratives you could use that allows one to have a very easy moral life and not have very difficult decisions when there's an increasingly more difficult world to comprehend with so much information out there. So I don't know. I think we do have to take these concepts very seriously. And when Jacob mentions that you potentially are part of that problem or cog, I guess he would just say, as someone that is looking at this right now, this community, and getting, let's say, feedback / pushback, right, on the way like your framing is. So one should wonder, or taking this into consideration, am I part of someone that is partaking in pushing a narrative? I don't want to say pushing, but allowing to foster a narrative that isn't necessarily healthy. And are the tools I'm using themselves, are they relevant for how the world actually works? Or am I using tools that I've been told that this is how I'm supposed to look at the world? I'm sorry.
I know you have to go, but I would call back to where we started this conversation about discourse and finding two people who very much disagree, and Edward Bernays and postmodernists shifting a conversation by having for the vast majority of people, right? You have the two extremes, and where they agree is where a lot of people will then find, oh, well, this is Chazi's being reasonable now, right? Because what I have done is moved the Overton window. You see that?
Yeah, no, and I really appreciate this conversation, because I think live in the White Tower. We spend all our time, right, as academics. I think it'd be easy to accuse us of that, and right. So to come here and to sort of hear such a get this kind of extreme pushback and critique, I think is just hugely valuable. And so I want you to know I'm listening. I hear you. I'm not.
But do you hear me when I say I am pushing an Overton window with my extreme rhetoric?
I guess what I thought I heard you saying there was that you were going for the most extreme position because you see it. I think almost in my mind I'm sort of picturing like a reverse dialectic where you think people will go to the center based on the extremity of your saying.
But Jacob, I would argue, so let's say that very much, that fits as far as like the pendulum swing idea, but that's you in this conversation. Should someone like a Donald Trump say that, right? Or is that like a lot more that would become a lot scarier, right?
Well, no, that's why Donald Trump and I mean, if you listened to the interview that JD Vance did with the New York Times, he said particularly that, so Marcus, Dr. Shara Professor Shara says, bending the stick the other way is a name for Jacob's strategy.
You know, that was a failed attempt, unfortunately, in Israel with the judicial reform slash coup. But either way, I mean, now they admit that, like, the idea was to say, like, we're going to scare them, but really we're going to dial it back. You scared them, and you scared them so much that they, literally.
But that's the problem. The problem is that the discourse on the other side is so controlled, right? It's Kamala Harris is still talking about Project 2025.
Jacob, you're right, but at the end of the day, b'makom she'en ish, right? Then if they're not going to play,
no. B'makom she'en ish means that when you need to kill the Egyptian, you kill the Egyptian.
I'm not going to disagree that, like, when there's a time to fight, but we should always do our best to try to first come out in peace. And the question is, like, I would say, like, again, specifically in that case, did Yariv Levin, he went about it like completely wrong. I
disagree. I think you keep on falling into this thing of trying to be the peacemaker, and without me there, without people like me there to move the center, you're just going to end up compromising over and over and over again.
Are you excited?
About what?
Sukkot is coming, baby.
Sukkot!
I don't know. What do you mean? We get to sit outside, be in our huts, look at things differently, appreciate God, and welcome all the great guests every night.
I am dreading Simchat Torah. I have no idea what it's going to be like.
Why?
Because it's the first year anniversary of Simchat Torah.
Oh, you mean from October 7th?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's going to be joyous.
Amen.
There was a whole brouhaha, as you know, last year on Yom Kippur in Tel Aviv, right? When they were praying and people came in and were disrupting the prayers. And obviously that doesn't look very good. It's not a good look. I'm sure the old man was not happy about that up in heavens. However, this year, Tel Aviv, the municipality decided to they weren't going to allow any segregated prayers. The court came out against them and said, no, you must.
Yeah, now I remember. Yeah, go ahead.
However, the organization that was doing it, that did it last year, decided regardless, even though the court decided, agreed with them, to pull it back and not have their event. A different organization had an event, which was segregated in the middle. No actual divider, just men in one section, women in the other. And then out there was outer circles of really all of Tel Aviv completely mixed. And everyone was talking about how it was like a beautiful, gorgeous Yom Kippur davening in Tel Aviv. And the rabbi got out at the end of the prayers, and he, looked up to the heavens and said that, we did it. We came back a year later, and we came all united. And he's like, now it's your turn, sort of speaking to God. And I don't know. I just think, like, where we could find people working together, or there's bipartisanship, that should be highlighted. And we should try to speak in that language as much as possible. So I understand your need to move the Overton window, but you don't want to leave scorched earth.
Look, for everything there is a season. And there should always be the people like you who are trying to make peace. And I'm glad to have you there. But things are not going to be made right with just you and your way, which is a problem.
I know, but David doesn't get to build the temple with his bloody hands.
Okay, and guess what? If my role is David, and I don't get to see the temple, I don't get to see the temple.
I wonder.
We
I
don't
wonder-
get to decide that we're going to be Shlomo.
That is true, and ultimately, to be honest, the two Torahs that we have, or two paths that we have, as our sages tell us, are the Torah of Aaron and the Torah of Moses. But ultimately, Aaron's Torah is not. We say Rodef Shalom Vohev Shalom, right? He loves peace and run after peace. Puts together, interactions and helps facilitate interactions. Umekarvan la Torah, right? But ultimately, he brings it back to Moses' Torah. Now, Aaron does try to meet people where they're at, right? And that was part of the issue with the calf, because he sort of didn't. He was trying to play around with them, and more than that, it's almost as if he only would have, instead of making a calf made like the cherubs, it would have been successful. But it was showing a misorientation. So I accept the criticism. Nevertheless, there are two of these brothers, and they were trying as best as possible to work together. And I see
Netzach v'hod, train shokin.
Yes, that's beautiful, beautiful.
Okay, I am going to end the stream because I have a stream later,
Catch you later,
and
babe.
I actually want to talk to you.